Hello, I'm JD the Ender. Today I'm going to be doing my review for Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. I liked the movie entirely, in its entirety. I'm going to throw out a spoiler warning right now. I would also like to offer a little piece of advice for those of you that have critiques about The Last Jedi. I've noticed an alarming amount of you who make remarks, which it's not entirely your fault, hopefully it's not, that kind of come off as racist, chauvinistic, and sexist. And that's not really cool, because the people who need to be heard right now are just going to get thrown into the pile with those guys. That's the negativity that they're going to focus on. They're not going to listen to the critiques while they hear all of these racial slurs and sexist remarks and shots at whoever about being a social justice warrior. Throw the whole justice warrior platform out, okay? If you want to get heard, look at the critiques as opportunities for improvement, and then build on that. Alright. So, what did I like about the film? I liked a lot of it. I liked all of it, honestly. Were there a couple of pieces out of place? Absolutely. But I've been waiting since 2004, 2005 to see additional Star Wars films. I had a lot of friends in high school who followed the legacy of the Force, and I can see a lot of the parts here of this trilogy that have drawn inspiration from that. One of the things that they wanted to change with this trilogy is keeping Chewbacca alive, because at the point in the story where the movies are, Chewbacca was long dead. I think it would have been cool if they had like a Mara Jade character. I think she might have been in the books. I haven't finished reading the newest books that are all canon. I'm working on The Legend of Luke Skywalker right now, so maybe there's a little bit of her in there. Aside from that, the movie starts off with Poe taking a shot at Hux, trying to get him a little heated, so he's hot. He's not thinking clearly, and have the upper ground, which works fantastically. They were able to get everyone evacuated before they had any casualties. But unfortunately, because Poe is such a hothead himself, they did sustain quite a few casualties and lost quite a bit of resources. For instance, they lost all their bombers. They lost a lot of X-Wings. So because of that, Leia demotes him. He's no longer able to call any shots. We see once Poe gets landed, Finn wakes up. He's in this weird, like, water suit thing, which, cool. It's an awkward thing. That's Rian Johnson's thing. Which leads me to Rose Tico. She's also awkward. The actress played her role really well. I don't necessarily think that the character has a has like a way to fit in real well, cohesively. But I like to look at her as kind of like Finn's voice of reason. Alright? If you look at her as Finn's voice of reason, it kind of changes it a little bit. Because Finn is really unhinged in this film. He's really concerned about Rey and making sure that she's safe. Because he knows all of the awful things that the First Order does and is capable of. So that's why they embark on their little adventure to Canto Bight. They get there, they see the dude that they need to talk to, but they get arrested because the place they're at's real classy and you can't park on a beach without a permit or some hoo-ha like that, which is not too different from places that are like that, really. I mean, you can't even park in the city without getting a fine or a ticket or whatever. Not necessarily arrested, but this is in a galaxy a long time ago, far, far away. So that's what happens with them. Poe's kind of in the dark about everything because the person that was promoted above him is kind of relishing in her ability to boss him around. I don't know, maybe there's like a relationship there that we don't know about, or I don't know. I imagine that's if he really is as dangerous as she says he is, it would be beneficial for her to put him to work. Give him a task. Make sure he's doing it. Anyways, Poe, Finn, and Rose take it upon themselves to solve the problem, which is figuring out a way to get away from the First Order without them being tracked. And they do that. That's why they go on their adventure. So the first time Poe and Finn talk, the first thing that Finn wants to know is, where is Rey? So I'm kind of jumping around here, but I'm going as I kind of am recalling here. So once we see Rey and Luke in their first interaction, we see her with like the lightsaber and she's handing it to him, and I think Rey, like Luke's got like a tear kind of dripping down, and he grabs it and hooks it over his shoulder and walks off. Now if you notice, he was in the robes at the beginning when Rey showed up, that he was in at the end. I'm going to come back to that. I just remember the robes that he's wearing when Rey first arrives. So he hooks it over his shoulder. Rey's really confused. He didn't want to talk to her because he knows what's going on, right? And we don't really know why Luke is hiding right now. What we know is that Luke has spent the last 40 years of his life trying to learn and acquire knowledge to make a better generation of Jedi so that they do not make the same mistake that created Darth Vader. Well, come to find out, that's actually what happened, alright? And he failed. He failed, and he did the one thing that Yoda told him to do that was impossible for him to do to help solve the problem. Bottom line, well, the Jedi messed up. They created Vader. Look what he did. And then I messed up and I created Kylo Ren. And look what he's doing. Right? Which, by the way, he makes a point to say when he's explaining to Rey, when he was like probing Kylo or whatever, he looked into him to see what the source of the darkness was, and the exact words he uses are, Snoke had already turned his heart. Snoke had already turned his heart. Now, when we look in the Legacy of the Force novels, the character that Kylo Ren is based on, Jacen Solo, he's not manipulated to join the dark side. He's not forced. He just is kind of persuaded. He's talked into it. Hey, you're a Jedi, right? You serve the Force? Well, your uncle doesn't serve the Force. Let me prove it to you. I mean, his heart was turned. His partner that was there with him was, and this is Jason Solo, is seeing that he's not being manipulated. This isn't a, this is the dark side you're looking for kind of trick. No, he's being talked into joining a Sith. We didn't get those details, but hearing Luke say Snoke had already turned his heart kind of makes me think it was something along those lines. So yeah, while Rey is on this island trying to convince Luke to come back with her, she starts having these visions of Kylo. They're not visions. They're able to communicate. And it was this communication that led her to finding out the truth about what made Kylo, which was, and also what affected Luke to the point of being disenfranchised with the Jedi. And also, the last time Luke saw that lightsaber, he was holding it in his right hand. Do you really think he's going to be like, oh, thank you. I'm so glad you brought this to me. I was looking for it. No, he's not. Anyways. So that's the big reveal with Luke. That's why he's exiled himself. He created Kylo Ren, just like Yoda and Obi-Wan created Vader. I would be pretty upset with myself too. Here I am, I have the entire weight of not just a world or a government or a country, but the galaxy, like the whole galaxy. And I failed. I did the exact same thing that the Last Jedi Order did. Something's wrong. I can't find out what it is. I'm gonna go stay on this island over here where no one can find me, and hopefully, when someone does find me, they'll see what I found, and they'll do something better than me. Because that's all he could figure out. That's all he could think of. Right. So, moving on. While Finn and Rose are at Canto Bight, they find a dude who's like, hey, y'all need a code breaker? I'm a code breaker. Y'all are in jail? I'm in jail. Let me just bust y'all out. Woo! Hey, if y'all want to follow, come on. So anyways, they, that's when they go on their little, hey, let's tear Canto Bight up with the horse giraffe animal things, which everyone's having a problem with, like a vegan message, and again, just ditch the social justice warrior platform. Like, seriously. Yeah, Disney has a lot of money, and you know what? Thanks to all of our parents and the asshole corporations 20, 30 years ago now, corporations are people too. And guess what? Money equals free speech. So if Disney wants to use Star Wars as a platform to promote veganism, that's their right to do so. Just like Hollywood has used movies as a platform to sell cigarettes, how is it any different? You weren't complaining about the cigarettes being sold? Sorry, I digress. So they go on their trip. They release all the creatures, which everyone says is like childish because they're just gonna go catch all the creatures again, which it is. But who was it that helped Rose and Finn escape with those creatures? Children, slave children. Okay, so they're like, oh, we're at a cliff. What do we do? It's a dead end. That's a really far way to jump, and we're about to be arrested. And who shows up? It's the dude, the code breaker, that was like, say, bro, let's get out of here. In a ship he stole. So they take him back to Snoke's ship. They disable it. They start to disable it, but they get caught because he sold them out. And then we see Rey. She's left Octo. She's pissed at Luke because he's all disenfranchised and doesn't think he can do anything to fix the problem. And Kylo is Kylo because of Luke. And well, she happens to go aboard Snoke's ship as well. And when she does, Kylo's there waiting for her, because why wouldn't he be? They've got a bond. He knew she was coming, and he wanted to protect her. So, takes her to Snoke's throne room, and Snoke takes her lightsaber. He's talking to her, and he's going to try and make Kylo kill her. While he does this, he's holding her in position. Kylo's, he's picking up his lightsaber. He's spinning it around, kind of slow. It really sounds like he's narrating his own death, alright? It does at this point. It sounds like Snoke is saying, like, hey, I'm gonna win this, but I'm gonna die to do it. And he does, because, after they have their really badass fight scene where they're, like, taking on the Praetorian Guard, and I want to point out the Praetorian Guard's armor would not take damage from a slash attack. Didn't happen. Another thing that's like that is the Mandalorian armor. Moving on. So they take out the Praetorian Guard. Snoke is dead, which some people think that Luke used a similar technique to, or I guess Snoke used a similar technique to what Luke used towards the end. However, if that were the case, we wouldn't have seen Snoke be cut in half. Because whenever Luke was stabbed, it was just like, come at me, bro. Come at me. So I don't think Snoke is dead, but I don't think he was using a projection. Maybe like a clone or a robot or something, but not a projection. I've actually got a really interesting video on that. I've been working on for a couple months. Hopefully I'll have that done soon. So, Kylo's like, cool, that's over with. Now we can rule the galaxy. And Rey's like, hold up, dude. They listen to you now. Let's just stop fighting. Then we'll figure stuff out. And he was like, oh, well, your parents were just junk traders. They didn't care about you. They sold you for alcohol. Which, I think he's just saying that because he wants to turn her. He wants her to join him. And they see the best in each other, honestly. Because she was telling him that she had a vision, and he had turned. And he had a vision, and she had turned. Which, I don't know. In the midst of all of this, they've had to evacuate what's left of their fleet because it's a space car chase. where they're burning on fuel, which is kind of weird because it's like, but whatever. So, they get in a spat, they have a disagreement, end up splitting the lightsaber, which happens to like knock Kylo out, not Rey. I think she's more powerful than him. Also, I think it would have been really, really useful for us to know in this movie what the book revealed to us, which was she learned everything she learned by the mind probe that Kylo did. I haven't been able to pick up the book just yet, so I don't know the exact verbiage, but it's something along the lines of like, it was like some doors opened, and in each of those doors was a lesson that Luke taught Kylo, and she, through proxy, gained his knowledge of the Force and abilities and blah, which I'm cool with, as long as Rey's like the only person that happens with, because if it's just like a Matrix thing where she's like, you have the power, kung fu, like, it just doesn't work for me. Sorry. So anyways, I'm okay with it as long as Rey is the only person it happens with, but it should only be Rey. Okay, so lost track, but they were having a disagreement. They split the lightsaber. And then like the entire fleet's being blown up. So like the plan that Holdo wasn't telling Poe about just happened to be involving the escape pods, where the escape pods were being used to transport the passengers and cargo to the base that they wouldn't have known about if DJ, which is like the code breaker, hadn't sold them out. I've noticed that there is quite a few times in the film where people make references to rebels. Finn is like, I'm rebel scum. And then Hux is also like, oh, you're rebel scum, I'm gonna blow you and your rebel friends up. Something along those lines. A couple other times when someone mentions rebels, they just throw rebels in there. Kind of makes me think we're gonna get to see some characters from Rebels. I don't know. In episode 9. So we get down to the base because, Holdo did this really awesome thing and she used light speed as a weapon and blew up the entire fleet. That was awesome. So we get down to the ground, everyone's getting in their base, trying to arm up, get ready, because they know the First Order's coming for them. They've been shooting them out of the sky while they're trying to land. Kylo rakes up, just as Hux is thinking about killing him. And then they go down there. They're ready to demolish the rest of the Resistance. And, they have their little last stand. They got their little junker mobiles or whatever, kicking up all the dust with the red sand, and visually this movie's just fantastic. And then, they bring down their laser cannon thing that's Death Star tech, and they start blasting a hole into the base. And when they do that, they're just like, well, shit, all hope is lost. We got those contacts that we sent him from, we sent some signals out to. We're trying to get some help. I think that's actually the Mandalorians, because why else would there be a Mandalorian flag at Maz's place if they weren't going to bring him back in? I think it would be cool if Rey was a Mandalorian of some kind. That would also, maybe she's like the Mandalore. Maybe she's Boba Fett's daughter or something. That would be really awesome. Because then they'd have an army. Anyways, let's continue. This is my review. we see Luke appear, just as everyone's losing hope. You know, everyone's just like, you know what? We've done everything. We've done everything we can possibly do. Luke appears. You know, he has a nice, very moving, very touching moment with Leia. No one's ever really gone, I can't save your son, I'm sorry. Leia accepted that she couldn't save her son. Luke couldn't save her son. No one's ever really gone, though. And then he walks out there. And I just think it's so badass. I think it's awesome what happens next. Because Kylo loses his shit. And even though they've technically got the high ground because they're in the guerrilla walkers and Kylo's in his ship, Luke is like light years away, distracting the First Order. Like the bulk of the First Order's military resources, so that the Resistance can get away. Like, the dude doesn't even have to move to make this happen. I mean, just think about how badass that is. He's sitting on a rock, meditating. Don't get me wrong, I've been able to meditate for like upwards of 8 hours. It's really difficult to do. It takes a lot of energy. You gotta sit in an upright position. I'm not gonna say that's why he like died or whatever, but what I'm gonna say is I think he was going back to the Force, and now he's more powerful. Not only was he the most powerful Jedi that ever existed, but now he's more powerful. And not only that, he took on the entire First Order without actually ever being there. I don't know. I mean, that's what more is there to say? Like, okay, it's not flashy lightsaber battles and you know, Force abilities that we all know Luke can do. I would have liked to see some Emerald Lightning. You know, I was hoping to see at least one arc of Emerald Lightning. If it wasn't, you know, Luke showing it to Rey and how to do it, or like something. That's what I was hoping for. So, I don't know. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. And I felt like it was really appropriate. You know, he got to see his last sunset. And I don't think it was so much of Luke coming to, like the second son coming to Luke. I think it was more of we were seeing what it looks like whenever he's projecting. So I think he was going to Tatooine. And he was going to Tatooine so we can see the last sunrise on Tatooine before he went to join the Force. Overall, I love the movie. Do I think that it has some opportunities for improvement? Absolutely. Most definitely. I think you really got to work some stuff out there. I think introducing a character halfway through the trilogy was not the right way to go, i.e. Rose Tico. Not that I don't like her. I mean, she doesn't really add very much. The actress was great. I love her performance. She did a good job. But I feel like in order for her to really shine in the next film, she's got to really like grow into her own more than just like coming out of awkward situations and going into awkward situations. I don't know. I would even be okay with her being like Force sensitive and just like a total badass. But you gotta do more to make her shine, especially if you're gonna introduce her like halfway through, or if you would have like killed her off instead of her like being there after she interrupted Finn's attack on the cannon. That would have worked pretty well as well, because when I just look at it, like, what characters were introduced halfway through the trilogy, like in the second movie, that carried on into the third one. And there's like Lando, you know, but there was a reason for going to Bespin. Like, they didn't have anywhere else to go. They were trying to hide from the Empire. So, I don't know. Overall, I love the movie. I don't have like a 8. Yeah, I guess it's like an 8 out of 10. It's not like a 10 out of 10. I don't really think I can give it like a complete rating until I see the trilogy as a whole. I enjoyed it. I like that they took Kylo's mask, because in the Star Wars universe, if they're following some of the old stuff or drawing from some of the old stuff, bad guy with a mask, always a good guy. Good guy with no mask, always a good guy. Bad guy with no mask, always a bad guy. Which to me means we're not going to see any kind of redemption. We might see an interest between Kylo and Rey, where maybe there's like this romance, because I feel like they were about to do some pretty grown-up things before Luke interrupted them in the hut. But I feel like it's going to be a situation where either Rey or Kylo is going to have to die. I feel like that's the only way to really conclude their arc. But yeah, anyways, that is my review of Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Tried to make it as short as I can. Also wanted to get everything in there. Please, if you enjoyed this review, go ahead and hit subscribe. Go ahead and also leave a like, and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, all that other stuff. It's in the comments below. One other thing, I've got a new video that I'm going to actually try to do for The Last Jedi. It's going to be another movie review, and I'm really interested in what I'm doing. It's not anything I've done before, but I think it'll be pretty cool. So look out for that. And yeah, I've been JD the Ender, and you have been fantastic. So until next time, goodbye.